Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to NGLCC's Federal Contracting Webinar and Matchmaking Series. I'm Senior Vice President Jonathan Lovitz from the NGLCC and thrilled to welcome you here with us for part 2 of an ongoing series about federal contracting and the ins and outs of this important set of opportunities for LGBT suppliers and our ever-growing networks. Thank you so much for spending your time with us today. We know you're busy, but this program is absolutely worth it. We had such huge attendance at part 1 and thrilled to see so many folks returning for part 2. A few housekeeping reminders that we are recording this program for anyone who might miss it or want to revisit it later. We're also streaming on Facebook Live, so hello everyone out there. And a reminder that throughout the conversation, please use the chat box to reach us directly or the Q&A box to share questions or comments that we can address throughout today's presentation. There'll also be some great Q&A time at the end of today's talk. While we have your attention, we want to remind you this is one of just 2 exciting programs coming up this week. On Thursday, everything you need to know about cybersecurity, which is such a deal breaker in helping suppliers cut through the initial rounds of discussion with potential corporate and government partners. So please do join us. We will drop the link to that program in the chat momentarily. And if you have any questions about these programs, reach out to us at info@nglcc.org and we'll help you get things squared away. But we hope we see you Thursday as well. A shout out to the amazing team who helps make this happen. The Federal Contracting Task Force with Melissa Poley of Northrop Grumman, Brian Johnson from Leidos, and Pat McHugh from Lockheed Martin. Thank you, friends. We truly could not do this without you, and we appreciate you helping us bulldoze through these industries and clear a path for more opportunity for our suppliers. We truly, truly appreciate it. I am also joined on the line by NGLCC Senior Manager for Corporate Relations, Jason Vita, who is your guru for everything you want to know about working with the NGLCC and its corporate partners. We'll make sure that you have all of our contact information as the conversation continues. But our star of the day, just like our first installment of this program, is the one, the only Lisa Wood, the statewide director of the Virginia PTAC, or the Procurement Technical Assistance Center, the expert on these issues, who you'll hear from in just a moment. But I want to just level set with everyone and remind you who we are and how fortunate we are to have you in our network. The NGLCC is the business voice of the LGBT community, working on behalf of LGBT businesses in the United States and now in over nearly 24 countries around the world. We are your certifying body for LGBT business enterprises and work in partnership with many of the other certifying and small business organizations around the country. And we host the world's largest LGBT business event, the International Business and Leadership Conference, which of course was postponed this year due to COVID, but the best programming from it continues throughout the summer. You've of course seen Webinar Wednesdays every week. We have Sip and Pitch Fridays, our great pitch competition and event every other week. Will be this Friday. Do join us. It's a great event for you. And of course, we'll have matchmakers, webinars, special programs going on all year long. So just because we couldn't be together as a family at the conference doesn't mean the family reunion doesn't still continue online. So as we're talking today primarily on federal procurement, I do want to remind you that NGLCC's advocacy and policy team is kicking the doors of opportunity open for you where you live. This map reflects some of the places where in white you can see contracting is now open to you if you have your LGBTBE certification, and the places in blue are in progress, and we have many more on the way. So we look forward to continuing 50-state strategy to make sure your certification gets you total inclusion, not just in the private sector, but across the entire public sector as well. So today we are talking about finding those opportunities, and our brilliant mentor and guide and guru, Lisa, will take it away from here. Lisa, the floor is yours, and we thank you so much and want to encourage as well, again, everyone who's on the line to use the Q&A or chat functions to send us questions or comments. And of course, to Pat and Melissa and Brian and the teams from our procurement task force, this is your expertise. Chime in anywhere and everywhere. We want this to be an open conversation. So take it away, Lisa, with our thanks.
Thank you, Jonathan. It's such a pleasure to be here today. I love this presentation. It's full of great information, and I think it's really going to be a great tool for small businesses to find those opportunities. So next slide, please.
Absolutely. Oh, and you know what? Let me go back for just 1 second, Lisa. I didn't realize we have a special guest on the line that I didn't know was with us. I also want to make sure everyone knows NGLCC's Vice President of Corporate Relations, our head guru in the world of intersecting with the corporate world. Greg Schimber is on the line, and you can always reach that team to learn more about coordinating with our corporate partners and also how you and your companies can become one at corporaterelations@nglcc.org. Thanks, Greg. I'm sorry, I didn't realize you were on. Good to see you and welcome. All right, Lisa, it's all yours.
Okay, so I'm sure you can all sympathize with this. I think we're a little bit all on webinar burnout, but it just speaks to the time. So it's been a very challenging year for small business, and many of us struggle with adapting to our new normal. COVID-19, CMMC, and SBA regulatory changes have forced us to reinvent the way we work, network, and market our goods and services. So all the rules are changing, and we're forced with an environment of adaptation and innovation in order to survive. The good news is the government still needs goods and services and still held to meeting socioeconomic goals. New opportunities have been created that may not have been thought of a year ago, and the government is looking at suppliers of those goods and services to keep the machine running. Next slide. Today's presentation was newly created to offer some guidance on how to find opportunities in today's environment. The first thing we'll discuss is where the dollars are flowing the greatest. Next, we'll talk about recreating your marketing plan so you may create an effective strategy. We'll then look at where to find opportunities that are relevant to your core competencies and do a deep dive into COVID-19. This topic has created the most unique contracting situations I have ever seen. I could do an entire presentation just on this subject, but stick to how you may find opportunities during the crisis. Finally, I'll give you some tips on how to pursue these opportunities. Not a deep dive, that's another presentation, but a good common sense approach to giving the government customer what they want. Next slide. Federal contract spending in fiscal year 2019 reached a whopping $594 billion, and that's with a B, which is the highest amount on record. Government spend has increased by 7.6% per year since 2015. The majority of the spending was the Department of Defense at $402 billion, and civilian agencies following up with $191 billion. Next slide. In case you're wondering, a GWAC is a government-wide acquisition contract, which is pre-competed, multiple award, indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity contract that agencies can use to buy total IT solutions. Spending on these contracts, which are designated exclusively for information purchases, has continued to accelerate, going from $9 billion in 2015 to $17 billion in 2019. This is definitely a trend that needs to be noticed by IT professionals. Agencies are relying more on GWACs each year for IT requirements, including modernization of legacy systems. Next slide. Dollars spent on small business has increased along with the total yearly spend, but has remained only at 23% annually, which strangely enough is the government-wide spending goal. The 23% goal has been successfully met by federal agencies for the past 6 years. That being said, we're happy that they're meeting their goals, but the reality is that small business spend has remained flat, meaning it's not increasing. It's still staying at 23% of the total dollars spent in the federal government. We'd like to see that go a little higher. Next slide, please. OTAs. This is really cool stuff. Acquisitions using the federal government's OTAs, or other transactional authority, reduces red tape and allows the government to quickly and efficiently acquire research and prototyping services. Spend for using OTAs has increased each year from $1 billion in 2015 to $7.6 billion in 2019. This increase suggests that the federal government is using this type of contracting to expedite awards in technology and expand its non-traditional contractors, and enables agencies to invest in and influence technology development. Keep an eye on this one because you're going to see more of this. Next slide, please. Back in the tail end of 2019, which now seems like a million years ago, we all saw a jump in the simplified acquisition threshold. Spending through simplified acquisition procedures for buying commonly acquired goods and services that fall below a specific price has increased each year since 2015. 2019 saw the highest spend with simplified acquisitions at just over $25 billion. These are great opportunities for small businesses to pursue. The past few slides represent some areas in government where spend is accelerating and deserve further exploration. Now, these simplified acquisition thresholds, in March, with the whole COVID-19 crisis, they did a temporary increase in some of these, so that's worth a look as well. But that's just for the contracting for the COVID-19. Don't confuse it with the regular simplified acquisition threshold. Next slide, please. So creating a marketing plan. The number one question PTAC counselors hear is, where do I find opportunities? We always advise firms to begin building a marketing plan to use in developing a strategy designed specifically for their business. The next slides will give you resources to help you build your plan. Next slide. The VBOC. For all of you veterans out there, the VBOC is an SBA program designed to offer resources to veteran-owned small business owners. The VBOC offers entrepreneurial development services such as business training, counseling, and resource partner referrals to transitioning service members, veterans, National Guards, reserve members, and military spouses interested in starting or growing a small business. The VBOC also facilitates the Boots to Business program. They're a free service and a very valuable resource. Next slide.
Lisa, I just want to chime in and say we have many LGBTVEs that are also service members and veterans as well. And first, thank you for your service. And also remember that there are countless benefits available to you to be both LGBTVE and veteran certified. So please reach out to us. We're happy to connect you with our partners at Novoba and the NVBDC, which are our counterparts in the veteran space, as we have a lot of collaborative opportunities to help LGBT veterans grow their businesses, including some dedicated funding opportunities. So reach out to us. We're happy to help.
In that same vein, the CVE certification or verification that the VA has, that Center for Verification and Evaluation, it's a separate certification that is eligible only to veterans and service disabled veterans. The VA requires it. It's mandatory to contract with the VA, but if you guys need help with that, we are there for you. My entire team is verified as counselors for this certification, so we'd be happy to walk you through that process because it can be a little tricky and frustrating. So, SBA Subcontracting Opportunities Guide. SBA Subcontracting Opportunities Directory is a listing of federal government contractors that have requirements to subcontract to small businesses. This listing is intended for small business concerns seeking to find subcontracting possibilities with federal government prime contractors. Although the other than small, which means large, has an obligation to subcontract to small business, it doesn't mean that they are seeking new subcontractors. They may already have teams of small business subcontractors. However, they may be looking to refresh that pool, so always keep that in mind. Therefore, this directory is not a guarantee that you'll receive a subcontract, but it's good to explore it and start to build your marketing plan with those that are in that directory. Use this directory as a tool to identify which businesses you should perhaps investigate and follow through with the recruiting processes to be an active participant in their pipeline for future contracts. SBA recommends that you use this data to locate the prime's website through an internet search to assess their requirements to be a subcontractor. If the firm doesn't have a website visible through your internet search, contact the firm for their website address. The directory includes the name of the prime contractor, the product service codes, PSC codes, the contracted name and telephone number of the company's point of contact, contact numbers along with contract effective dates and completion dates, contract value and obligated dollars. That is a lot of information in there. It's unbelievable. Please do not contact the firm to ask for subcontracting possibilities before reviewing their website for more information. This is an opportunity to understand their pain points and how you may be part of a solution. This due diligence will also help you create a capability statement designed specifically for the target firm. After careful research of each firm's website and a total understanding of how they do business, you may then reach out to their small business office and make contact. So what I'm trying to say here is, don't go through that list and send every single one of them your general capability statement. They really appreciate when a firm takes the time to find out how they like to do business, what their pain points are, and to actually demonstrate how they can be a solution to the problems that that particular prime faces. So the extra time you spend on researching the 4 or 5 that you select to market to is well worth the time spent. Next slide. This is a really good site. Not only do they provide a list of small business offices, but also contact names and numbers and links to the website. Pull this site up and you'll be amazed at the content they provide. Aside from dozens of small offices, the site also deep dives into marketing, cybersecurity, COVID-19, and socioeconomic goaling. I could do an entire presentation just on the features and benefits of this site alone. Please mark it as a favorite on your website. Next, please. This is also a great site to find recent large dollar awards. The information is easy to read and offers a wealth of information. The notices give the name of the firm awarded, location of firm, dollar value, brief scope of work, how it was solicited, contract number, place of effort, and proposed completion date. This is a great way for you to find firms to add to your list of potential subcontracting opportunities. The site also shows which awardees are small by adding an asterisk next to their name. Next slide, please. So this is an example of one of the opportunities that were awarded on this site that we just talked about in the previous slide. So you see the asterisks after Savvy Technology Inc. That means they're a small business. But look at the information you're given here. It's unbelievable. So this really gives you a chance to start to build a great opportunity reference piece for your marketing plan, a list of firms that you want to reach out to and explore further. Next slide. This site offers forecasting for 24 federal agencies, such as Department of Agriculture, Defense, Homeland Security, and Energy. Agencies are required to have forecasts of future opportunities in order to know how much money they need to ask for from Congress. While creating forecasts, the agencies also begin market research on identifying potential firms to perform some of the work. This gives you the chance to begin your own forecast pipeline as part of your marketing plan. Next slide. CIT, Center for Innovative Technology, with early commercialization and funding support for Virginia innovations, entrepreneurs, startups, and market development initiatives. They are a Virginia-based organization. They use early commercialization and seed funding to assist innovators and tech entrepreneurs to launch and grow new companies. They work in different areas such as COVID-19, cybersecurity, unmanned systems, and gap funding. What I really like about this program is their expertise with SBIR and STTIR. If you have that big idea and you think there's an SBIR or STTR opportunity that fits your area of expertise, then CIT is the go-to program for you. So even though they're Virginia-based, they'll definitely have a lead to a comparable organization in your state that they can direct you to. Next slide.
Lisa, before we go on, I want to run a question by you in our chat. That's a great one. John Eric Henry asks, where can a small business get assistance for developing capability statement and mentorship through the process? There are a lot of resources according to the presentation, but it can be overwhelming on what's needed, but also on the approach, which we couldn't agree with more. Besides, obviously, looking back at the last webinar we did, which talked a lot about some of the ways that we can help with capability statements and things like that. Of course, the NGLCC has a mentoring program. Many of our corporate partners who are participating in this program do. What else might you advise for someone who's looking at this, just even the couple of slides you've done this far and thought, oh my God, where do I even begin?
Well, I'm so glad you asked that question because capability statements happen to be something I'm really passionate about. We at TTAC actually have a template that's editable that will help you build your own capability statement. And if you have an existing one, we'll look at it. We'll review it for you, and we'll tell you what SBLOs, which are small business liaison officers, and buyers and CEOs, what they want to see, because they tell us, hey, they say, Lisa, can you have your team make sure that firms put this information on their capability statement? So we've had a lot of experience with those, and we really are passionate about helping you build the most effective winning capability statement, because without that, you are dead in the water. You have nothing to present. And if you present the wrong kind of capability statement, then you can get just eliminated based on what your capability statement looks at. And we do teach a class on this. So please reach out to us and we'd be happy to send you one of those templates. We even have them in various colors to match your branding and logo elements. So you're not in the dark. You don't have to keep going out there and searching. The answer is right with TTAC. Next slide, please.
That's great, Lisa. Thank you. Yeah, we'll put that contact information in everyone's wrap out. And of course, I put the information for our supplier diversity team, supplier diversity at nglcc.org. Reach out to us anytime. We'll connect you with Lisa or any other resource you're looking for out there.
MBDA, they assist minority-owned businesses with capital, contracts, and technical assistance. They promote minority-owned business with elected officials, policymakers, and business leaders. They also serve as subject matter experts and advocates for the minority business community and conduct high-quality research and cultivate domestic and international relationships. If you are a minority-owned firm, I highly recommend you connect with this agency. Next slide, please. So MEPs help manufacturers increase top-line growth and reduce bottom-line costs through strategic planning, innovation management, process improvement, ISO standards, sustainability, and energy services. The National Program Office, which is NIST part of MEP, provides the federal government funding for the MEP National Network, and it's located in Gaithersburg, Maryland. The MEP National Network is comprised of National Institute of Standards and Technologies Manufacturing Extension Partnership, which is NIST MEP. There are 51 MEP centers located in all 50 states and Puerto Rico, which includes over 1,400 advisors and experts at approximately 375 MEP service locations, providing any U.S. manufacturers with access to resources that they need to succeed. MEP is also public-private partnership funded, so it's designed from inception as a cost-shared program. Federal appropriations pay 1/2, with the balance for each center funded by state and local governments and/or private entities, plus client fees. This cost-share model contributes to MEP success. A GAO study found that because client fees give manufacturers a higher stake in the outcome of services, the positive impact on their business is greater. Meanwhile, public funding allows smaller manufacturers to afford the services. So things like ITAR, International Trade in Arms, ISO training, now they're heavily involved in CMMC. They're really got their feet in the water over a lot of things that are happening in government contracting. So if you have any kind of manufacturing setup, these are the guys that you want to be reaching out to. Next slide, please. Developing a reference library is critical to successfully contracting with the federal government. You need to have at your fingertips resources to guide your marketing strategy. So here's a list of some valuable resources to assist you. The FAR, Federal Acquisition Regulations, and the Procurement Bible. This site will take you directly to the FAR. The FAR is the best reference piece you will ever have on government contracting. The CFR is an online guide to all the rules published by departments and agencies of the federal government. The U.S. Code shows you consolidation and codification by subject matter of all general and permanent U.S. laws. That you may never need this, but it's nice to know where to look in case you do. The Federal Register is the official daily publication of federal agencies' rules, proposed rules, and notices, as well as presidential executive orders. DPAP is responsible for all contracting and procurement policy for DoD, as well as all pricing, contracting, and procurement policy matters, including e-business, in the Department of Defense. Looking for a government form, here is the link to a searchable database of all federal contracting forms, and it's located on GSA. It's critical that you use these sites for your research. Knowledge is power, and these sites are like insider access to the world of government contracting. Next slide, please. Now that you have all this great intel, you're thinking, well, how do I actually find opportunities, Lisa? So it just happens I have slides for that too. Next slide, please. So Biz Opps, it now lives in Beta SAM, and I know that's a dirty word right now, but we're getting through it. I actually met and interviewed a young lady who is the person in charge of Beta SAM for GSA, and I interviewed her for the upcoming Reston Chamber of Commerce Business Expo. So if you get a chance, log in there and listen to that. I asked her 7 questions that I get asked the most about Beta SAM, and she answered them. So she's a great resource for all those strange and mysterious things that now live in Beta SAM. So this is where you're going to find opportunities. It's a great market research tool. It's where you're going to find contracts that have already been awarded, opportunities out there, set aside, sources sought, and the government is required to post anything over $25,000 there. So it's good when you learn how to actually use it. Next slide, please. So this is what it looks like. If you just Google Beta SAM, you're going to come here, and you'll see that there's a section about contract opportunities, and underneath it, search contract opportunities. If you click search contract opportunities, that's going to take you to Biz Opps. Next slide. And this is what it looks like. So make sure that it looks like this, because the predators are out there. They're already recreating this stuff just to confuse everyone and try to steal their money. Be very careful. Up in the big blue, dark blue section, you're going to see vendor collaboration and small business events. That is where you want to go as a small business. The government agencies that are having industry days or matchmakers, they post them in the small business event section. So with this virtual environment, you can do matchmaking and virtual conferencing and participate in industry days anywhere in the country. It's beautiful. So no need to travel anymore to go to an expensive conference. It's all here in small business events. Collaboration, vendor collaboration is also a great place where they're going to post things such as source of site, requests for information, special notices. It's something that you need to learn how to explore. So you need to learn to filter it. And that's where a lot of the problem is coming in right now, is learning how to filter these, to filter out the garbage, the stuff that's already been awarded, it's past its due date. It's like, just show me what is available right now. But I've actually learned how to do those filters by having my little interview with the GSA girl. So there is an answer to it all. We just need to practice this site, because once we get good at it, it will be fabulous, and it's going to help us find those opportunities that are out there in SBO. Next slide, please. So DLA is the agency that actually handles PTAC. They are who I answer to. They're my handler. They have a very small business friendly website. They're also responsible for mission support for the military. That's it. It's mission support for all the aspects of the military. So the Procurement Gateway is their online bidding system. It's called DIBS, and it's a web-based application for quoting on supply items purchased by DLA for mission support. The DIBS Pocket Guide, which I listed here, is a very, very user-friendly explanation of the entire DIBS system. It's like DIBS for dummies. I love it. I learned more from that Pocket Guide than attending classes actually at the DLA Land and Maritime site. Next slide, please. I really like this site, and I just discovered it when I was designing this presentation. I stumbled on this. It's like, holy cow, I didn't even know it existed. I like it because it's a comprehensive insider view of state procurement. So you're able to click on your state of choice and find contact information, lists of state contracts and their begin and end dates, which is critical, as well as contract information for procurement professionals. I had no idea this existed. I always went to like the state's own site, like EVA for Virginia. But this really gets into the weeds on state contracting. And if you know when a service contract is ending, let's say it's a 5-year contract on snow removal, and you do snow removal, you know it's going to be expiring, and you can prepare for a response to when they recompete that. So it's just a great site to go to.
Lisa, so everyone knows NGLCC is a partner with NASPO and have been working with many different state procurement leaders throughout the country in expanding LGBTQIA inclusion. Our friends in the state of Massachusetts, who were the first in the country to include us statewide, have been so helpful with these introductions. And one of the neatest things that they showed us on NASPO is a link to several different keyword aggregators where you can set up email alerts to say anytime a procurement opportunity in certain states that fits what you and your business and your network do, you can get a daily or weekly e-blast about it. So definitely let technology be your friend here.
Yeah, and it's something to remember about state contracting. Every state has their own way of doing things, and it's all different. You know, I've run PTACs in 4 different states, and each state had their own way of procuring. So you always want to make sure that you are going to something like NASPO and finding out exactly how that state likes to do business. So great site. Next slide, please. SBA SUB-Net. It's the Small Business Administration subcontracting network system that bridges the gap between businesses seeking small business subcontractors and small businesses seeking subcontracting opportunities. Sounds like a dating site, doesn't it? By facilitating the matching of small business with subcontracting opportunities. So this is really where the rubber meets the road for subcontracting. You can go out here and put your own profile out there and say, hey, this is what I'm seeking, this is what I'm looking for. And you can also look at the primes out there that are seeking subs. So this is a great site to really familiarize yourself with and to add to your marketing plan. Next slide, please. Subcontracting with a GSA schedule holder is a great way to utilize the schedule without having to go through the painful process of getting your own schedule. The e-library gives you access to every single schedule holder and provides their contact information, categories, catalog price list, and contract number. This is a great opportunity to market yourself to firms who are already on the schedule. Next slide. So although VA is mandated to award to veteran and service-disabled veteran-owned firms, they still held to the federal small business goaling. The VA requires verification through the Center for Verification and Evaluation before they will consider award to a veteran-owned firm. It does not hurt to explore opportunities here because there may not be the rule of two met in the bidding process for these opportunities. So if no veterans respond to a solicitation, then it's fair game to non-veteran firms. But the Supreme Court clearly ruled that if the rule of two is met, a veteran firm will win that contract. So if you are a veteran or service-disabled veteran-owned firm and you're not yet verified through the Vets First program, please explore the very last link and call us. We'll help you through that process. Next slide. Now, we've entered in a new realm of contracting opportunities due to the pandemic, unfortunately. The previous sites I've listed all have a separate category for COVID-19 information. The next slide represents just a sample of federal agencies who have a deep interest in the pandemic and specialized business areas unique to procurement opportunities that have been created due to the pandemic. The next slides will offer reference links to the agencies most heavily involved with the COVID-19 response. Next slide. This list is by no means comprehensive, but it does give you a good idea of the scope for this effort. FEMA's COVID-19 How to Help page has a link specifically for the private sector. This page links interested vendors directly to FEMA's standing RFQ for PPE and medical supplies, and also has information for those wishing to offer their products and services. USACE headquarters has set up an inbox, that's U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, inbox for contractors to submit their capabilities to be seen by all Army Corps of Engineer districts nationwide. If you wish to be considered for missions, please send your capability statement to perform build out or retrofit of existing space, such as arenas, convention centers, dorms, and hotels. They are retrofitting them to an alternate care space, much like what New York City did. So send that to the address listed on the slide. It also suggests you include your response time by FEMA region or state to give those making decisions a better understanding of your capability. So response time is critical to them. They need to know that. All other vendors expressing capabilities to support COVID-19 or other efforts, such as disinfecting recruiting stations, design of hospitals, and so forth, should register in the Disaster Response Registry located in SAM. So if any of you have ever had me help you go through your SAM, I always have you say yes to Disaster Response Registry, because that opens up a world of opportunity. It's critical that you say yes to that and declare any state. So the DoD COVID-19 Joint Acquisition Task Force has launched a COVID-19 JATF industry portal where interested vendors can fill out a short form to provide information on ways they can help support our nation's current response and continued resiliency. The industry portal is best accessed through the link on the main COVID-19 JATF webpage. The link for DLA offers the latest in any RFI, that's request for information, or white paper requests that they may have for COVID response. And if you need help with a white paper, you can easily find a template to a white paper on the internet. The FAA is seeking looking to identify suppliers who can provide certain supplies and services related to COVID-19. They've asked the contractors fill out this market research questionnaire, SAA COVID-19 Supply and Service Requirements Market Research Questionnaire. Just type this into the browser and it will take you to your questionnaire. Next slide. Now, this presentation has provided many sites for you to explore and find opportunities in today's environment. However, if you do not have a method of delivery that is government friendly, then you may not get the desired effect. I've pulled together some tips on how to make the most of your marketing to the government efforts. Next slide. So here's some points for you to consider. The government buys absolutely everything, but not every government agency or prime contractor buys everything. That's why throw it against the wall and see if it sticks does not work. Know who buys what you sell. Do it through your market research. Make sure you're marketing to the right people. And if you're going to a matchmaker event, which is now all virtual, we're having them all the time, please only pick the ones that you know have a demonstrated history of buying what you provide. That way, when you sit down with them, you really have something to talk about. Next slide, please. Be in the dynamic small business search. Many people miss this. You need to make sure it's completely filled out, and it's at the tail end of SAM. So when it asks you to go into the SBA supplemental pages, you will go there. You're going to develop keywords that describe what you do that a buyer may use to search by. So if you're a consultant, don't just say consultant, it's too general. Say what you're consulting on, managerial consulting, HR consulting, whatever it is, make sure it's very specific to your core competencies. And your business cards. I get more complaints by government on people's business cards. Many people do not put what they do on their business card. For example, you'll say XYZ Consulting. It doesn't tell me what you're consulting on. So make sure you leave a few words that says what you do. It makes a world of difference for somebody collecting that card. And we will get to a space someday where we can actually exchange business cards again. Make sure that card is blank on the back and writable. I mean, you can put your NAICS codes back there and your cage code. That's acceptable. That helps them. But they're going to get maybe 100 or 200 cards at any given setting, and they need to be able to jot down notes on the back of that card. And if they can't, that card's going to get pitched. So those shiny black cards look beautiful, but they're not practical in the government marketing arena. So make sure those cards are government friendly. And your website, same thing. Make sure it's government friendly. That means there is a tab for government contracting, for government sales. So that buyer is not going to go through your entire website to get the information they need. If they land on your website, which they will when they're doing their market research, make sure they have a path to follow. So it's easy to add a government sales or government tab where they can open up that tab with one click, and lo and behold, there's a link to your capability statement. And there's information about you, information that's summarized from the rest of your website that you want them to know. It might be testimonials, a project you're working on now, your NAICS codes, PSC codes, socioeconomic standing, that fancy logo that they give you when you get verified through CVE, anything that's government contracting worthy. And also state, put your state information in there. Are you a DBE? You really need to give them an easy one-stop shopping experience. They will greatly appreciate that. And it will show that you know and understand what they're going through, and you're just trying to make their life a little easier. And then your capability statement. I can't stress this enough. You have to have a good capability statement. If you're not, it's just, don't even bother. If you can't build a good capability statement, then you're not going to get the notice that you want. And you have to make sure you have it comprehensive. No fancy language, no trade jargon, no marketing language like state of the art, best in class. Well, we're all about ethics and sustainability. No, you need to make a claim and back it up. It's quantitative. It's objective. It's just the facts about you. Your past performance is not a logo of an agency you did business with. One, that's illegal. You're not allowed to use federal agencies' logos unless you have their permission. Their attorneys get crazy over that. Who you did business with. What was the scope of work briefly? What was the date? What was the award dollars? And who was the person you dealt with their contact information? So make sure that you ask them first before you put them out there on your capability statement. And your email address. This is a real problem right now. Your email address has to be your business, not AOL, Gmail, Hotmail. It can't be a personal email address. Make it the name of your business. Not only is it unprofessional to have a personal email address, it's now a cyber risk. So government and primes do not take firms seriously if they don't have a serious email address. So please upgrade your email address to something that represents your business. Next slide. So these are the federal government goals. They represent the percentage of participation the government expects agencies to attain. Few of them attain all of these goals, but they are improving. This website that I've included here goes into detail for each socioeconomic goal. So if you think you may be able to qualify as one of these designations, this site will help you do your research. So the one thing I want to say here, if you're eligible and you qualify, by all means, get the certification. However, never lead with it. You always lead with your value. You tell them first how great you are and experienced and how you may solve their problem. Then you add, and oh, by the way, I'm a service disabled veteran, or I'm a HUBSA, or I'm an EDWOSB. So these socioeconomic goaling, that's great to have. You get to compete in a limited pool. However, it doesn't mean that you're guaranteed a contract. It's still based on, can you do the work? That's what that buyer worries about. Number one, can you do the work on time, within budget, within technical specs? And if you're a socioeconomic group, great, they can check that box, but please always lead with your value. And if you're a woman-owned small business or an EDWOSB, please get into the application portal at beta.certified.sba.gov. I have training on this now, and there's a lot of misinformation and myths going around about this new certification, and people are being fed a lot of stuff that is not true. And I just want to make sure all of the WOSB and ED WOSBs out there are doing the right things. If you have questions about that, please email me so I can guide you in the right direction. Next slide, please.
Absolutely. And Lisa, just so everyone knows, sorry, sometimes PowerPoint gets a little funky between computers. So we've put all of those percentage goals into the chat for everyone. So the 23, 5, 5, 3, and 3% are in your chat window.
So in summary, I know you're all thinking, wow, finally she's done. Please have a marketing plan. Have a strategy to move forward in government contracting. Make sure they can find you. Be where they can find you, especially the dynamic small business search. Know who your competition is. I mean, you can borrow a lot of information. You can look them up and find out, hey, what keywords are they using, or NAICS codes. It's important to know who your competition is because they may be your next teaming partner. Have a capability statement. I don't even have to go into detail there. Know who buys what you provide and only market to them. You will not waste any time then. You're actually marketing to somebody who has demonstrated that they need what you offer. Stay on top of those market forecasts because it's best to be prepared. Be proactive in what's going down the pipe in years to come. And stay focused because it's easy to lose focus when there's so many things going on and so many moving parts. Now, I know I've given you a lot of information and I've tried to give you highlights so you could have a blueprint of where to go in your research for government contracting opportunities. And the contracting world is changing and it's no longer business as usual. You've taken the first step by participating in this training that will help you broaden your understanding of a very complex business process. So don't get frustrated. It just takes time and due diligence and it will come. As long as you follow the steps and stay on course and don't get frustrated and give up, then you'll be successful. So next slide, please. This is just some information on PTAC. Some of you might not be in Virginia. You might be in Maryland or other surrounding states. So you would go to our national organization, which is APTAC, and it will give you that contact information of how to get with that PTAC. And also, remember, to be successful in government contracting, you need to know who your resource partners are, especially the resource partners who don't charge anything, because it's all about them. The Women's Entrepreneur Centers, the SBDC, the PTAC, there is a lot of resources out there for you. And the more you surround yourself with people who are in the know, who do this stuff every day, you now have people in your corner who can help you be successful in this arena of business. So thank you very much for listening, and I'm so happy that you were able to sit in on this presentation because it's really going to help you move forward. Thank you for inviting me.
Lisa, you are fantastic. Thank you. And I want everyone to make sure they take a look at the common topics at the bottom of that slide, because I can tell you, especially to this email for our federal contracting work, this is the stuff we're asked about all the time. So please take advantage of Lisa and her team and everyone across the TAC network around the country. They're here for you, as of course the NGLCC team is. Lisa's information is here. The NGLCC team is here. And we want to use these last few moments to take questions and also ask our friends from our corporate partners in the Federal Contracting Task Force, if you have anything you wanted to add. This is your wheelhouse, and we want to make sure our suppliers are ready to do business with you. So folks, feel free to chat, to use the Q&A, to come off mute. We'd love to hear from you. Melissa, Pat, I don't want to put you on the spot, but if you happen to have anything, we would love any closing thoughts too. Melissa Poley from Northrop Grumman was kind enough to share her email with you all. We'll make sure you have all that so you can stay in touch and take her up on that very kind offer to help review capability statements and protocols for approaching contractors like her. But if you have any questions for Lisa, now is your time. Oh, Lisa, one just came in over direct message to me asking, Lisa, this is amazing, but a bit daunting, as someone else said before. What do you consider the top thing for which we should take a bite out of? What should we grapple with first?
Okay, that's a very good question. What I like to see firms do is build the foundation first. Make sure you're every place where you need to be found, such as a great SAM profile. And I do this. I make sure your SAM profile is done correctly because it's easy to get turned around in there. Be in the dynamic small business search. Make sure your past performance is in there, your capability narrative, and your keywords. Your website up to snuff. Mm-hmm. Your capability statement prepared. So laying the groundwork, that's like building a foundation of a house. You know, everything has to be there and solid in order for you to have a strong structure put on top of it. So once you get that foundation in place, then you can start putting your toe in the water and finding those opportunities. But you got to lay the foundation first.
Yeah, and I want to one of our corporate partners shared a really great bit of feedback that, speaking a lot about capability statements today, and also their accessibility. You mentioned how important it is to have that tab on your website, and then as Melissa mentioned, making sure you have differentiated ones for your private sector work versus your public sector work. Could you talk a little bit too about how we can avoid some of the pitfalls, particularly around, as we have a cybersecurity conversation coming up on Thursday? Sometimes firewalls, sometimes different protocols don't allow people to get to the various websites. What is the easiest way to make sure that capability statements and all the other resources people need are accessible? And I want to put an asterisk on that to remind everyone to check in with your NGLCC supplier diversity team member, because we can also put all of your capability statements in your NGLCC profile, which is accessible to all of our corporate partners as well. So we can certainly help you in sort of the digital accessibility part. But Lisa, what do you think? What's sort of the trick of the trade to making sure everything is accessible and within reach?
Well, the one thing, like with a capability statement, you don't want to make it have too much content that it's going to get stuck in somebody's spam folder. Like no heavy graphics, don't have bullet points instead of a lot of long narratives. Keep it one page and one page only, not even front and back, just one page. It's easy to do it on one page, so that helps. Of course, have it on your website, and be attending these matchmakers that are popping up everywhere, because at a matchmaker, you're able to submit your capability statement to the person you're going to be matching with. So it's like a business card. You can even send them a copy of your business card. So a virtual business card exchange and the actual capability statement. But there's SBLOs and small business offices, they work on being able to get these items. So if you're having a problem, then you need to work that out with the person you're trying to get it to, even if you have to resort to snail mail. Put it in an old-fashioned envelope with a stamp on it and mail it to them. I know that sounds like, what? Mail? But doing it the old-fashioned way is sometimes more successful than us trying to fight firewalls and cybersecurity issues.
We've had to fax paperwork to the DLA before, and I was astonished we had a fax machine. So I hear you. Carlos Guzman, I think we have time for one last question. You had your hand up in the chat. I've turned on your talking permissions. Feel free to unmute and share your question.
Yes, thank you very much. A couple of things. Number one, is there a way where I can get a copy of the presentations? Or
oh, yes. Yeah, for everyone awareness, after this call, our team is going to put together a wrap out with all the links and presentation documents and all the resources you saw today. We'll have that up on the NGLCC blog, and you'll all get a wrap out email for registering today.
Also, are you familiar with mybusinessmatches.com?
Well, I can tell you the NGLCC
No.
is we use that regularly with our corporate partners. So if you stay with us through matchmaking season this fall, you may see it again. We've used it in the past many times. They're a great service.
Yeah, and that's what I wanted to let you know. I'm one of the originators of My Business Match. I retired from the Minority Business Development Agency to help them, and they're a very excellent company, and that's the next step forward. And I'll be happy to help in that process. And to help your organization and the LGBT community at large. Thank you so much, Carlos. We appreciate that. Melissa Poli, you helped lead this task force, and you certainly get the last word. Would you like to, you mentioned you had something to share. Would you like to? If you can hear us. Oh, wait, here we go. Maybe not. That's Melissa, if you can't come off mute, no problem. Feel free to shoot a message in the text. We can read it out loud to everyone. If you can't. Oh, no worries. Audio isn't working. No problem. It's an exciting new world of tech for all of us, but feel free to send a message. We'll make sure we read it out to everyone. But I want to make sure, again, everyone has a chance to jot down Lisa's information, the NGLCC supplier team's information. We are here for you all the time, especially the Supplier Diversity and Engagement Center team can be your primary guides to connecting directly with the partners and the stakeholders that you want to meet. Melissa mentioned, make sure your capability statement text is not a picture. We do email searches for keywords, a great point. And many programs like
Acrobat and even some of the other programs where you could save PDFs allow you to put in metadata that makes your your files searchable. So make sure that you have text in there that can be found and not images. So don't scan your capability statement. Lisa, is that something you would agree with?
Oh yeah, definitely. Pictures are a waste. Unless you have some fancy CNC machine that you want to brag about, but and no long narratives, bullet points, heavy with keywords about what you do. Those core competencies should be full of keywords.
Yes.
So she is absolutely spot on. It has to be, every word holds weight in a capability statement.
And speaking of holding weight, a good reminder from Melissa is everyone make sure that you are reaching out to her and to any other business contacts with your business email. Gmail, Yahoo, any of those services do not get through firewalls. So make sure you're emailing from a work business directory email, so that otherwise it will be kicked back or not get through spam. So we want to make sure you get those connections. And of course, if you're ever having trouble, reach out to us at NGLCC. We're happy to facilitate some connections. In just the final second we have here, I want to remind everyone of our great programming coming up on Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern. As I mentioned before, many of our corporate partners say that the very first thing that will be a deal breaker for them to even meet with you after the RFP is if you meet their security standards. So join us to learn from the experts, including Leidos, the FBI, and others who will be with us on Thursday. You really don't want to miss this. Registration's open right now at nglcc.org. Again, thank you for joining us. A big thanks to Lisa and everyone at PTAC for always being so supportive of the small business community. To Pat and Brian and Melissa and our whole task force, thank you for your leadership and guidance. To Jason and Greg and the corporate relations team, thank you for helping us bring everyone together. And to everyone joining us today, thanks for spending time with us. We hope this helped, and we hope this is just the beginning of a long series of conversations on helping you achieve federal, state, local, and of course, corporate contracting. Your team at NGLCC is always here for you. Reach out to us, but most importantly, stay safe, stay healthy, take good care of each other, and we'll see you Thursday and Friday for more programs this week. Thank you all.